logical monitoring. We're trying to preserve a system that includes zero disposal, zero waste. All of the liquid disposal that we have during our work, usually it is pumped in a special well, so we do not have any spills or something like that. On the slide, you can also see various ways to preserve this very sensitive ecosystem of the Arctic.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Ну, конечно, транспортно-логистическая схема. Можно с гордостью говорить о том, что сегодня Россия обладает уникальной компетенцией не только в добыче углеводородов, нефти в суровых условиях Арктики, но и транспортировке нефти во льдах. Подобного не делает никто, ни одна страна в мире, поэтому мы за последние 6 лет приобрели уникальную компетенцию в этом вопросе.
Speaking of the transport and logistics system of the project, we can say with pride that Russia has a unique experience of not only producing the oil in the Arctic, but also transporting it in ice, so the Arctic seas. I can say that not a single country in the world has such a huge competence, and we've been developing it for 6 years already.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Нефть с платформы вывозится специальными челночными танкерами. Михаил Ульянов, Кирилл Лавров, и перегружается на рейдовый перевалочный комплекс Кумба в Польском заливе. Вот как раз здесь показан процесс такой перегрузки.
The oil is taken from the platform by special tankers Mikhail Ulyanov and Kirill Lavrov, and later they are carried by a special tanker Umba. You can see it on the slide.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Хотелось бы сказать, что логистика в Арктике – это не перемещение груза из пункта А в пункт Б. Это формирование интегрированной системы обеспечения проектов.
I'd like to say that transporting the oil or the goods in the Arctic is not just moving an object from point A to point B, it is creating an integrated system with taking into consideration all of the factors.
Операторам проектов необходимо понимать, чем они будут разведывать, чем бурить, чем вывозить нефть, буровой шлам, чем доставлять персонал.
The operators of the platform need to know how they're going to locate the place, how they're going to drill the wells, and how they're going to deliver the stuff to the place.
При этом очень важно, чтобы все технические средства могли отвечать суровым климатическим условиям работы в Арктике.
It is also very important that all the technical devices comply with the harsh conditions of work in the Arctic.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Одним из таких элементов является офшорная авиация. Офшор от слова «вне берега». И по стандартам отрасли персонал доставляется на морские добычные комплексы именно при помощи вертолетов. Поэтому такой вертолет должен быть особо прочным, особо легким. И, конечно, отдельное внимание уделяется компетенции экипажа, который управляет таким техническим средством в полярную ночь.
One of the elements of this transportation system is a multifunctional helicopter. It is a part of the offshore aviation, and usually it is used to deliver the stuff to the platform. Which is important for the construction of such a helicopter is its resistancy, but at the same time lightness. Of a huge importance is also the competence of the crew members who have to work during the polar night.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Вот здесь просто для примера, какие используются типы зарубежных вертолетов. Следующий слайд.
Some example of the foreign helicopters used in our industry.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. В настоящее время в России есть также перспективные и уже реализованные модели российских вертолетов, которые могут использоваться для шельфа. Вы можете видеть их на слайде.
Currently in Russia we have some prospective projects and projects in action that can be used for some offshore production of oil and gas.
Следующий слайд. для, так сказать, информации. Вот существуют такие перспективные типы летательных аппаратов, конвертопланы, которые взлетают по вертолетному, летят по самолетному и садятся снова по вертолетному. То есть роторы имеют вращение, и что позволяет быть таким аппаратом очень маневренным.
Currently, we're also using some convertible aircrafts that can go up as helicopters as well as land, but during the flight they are acting as planes, which allows them to have very high maneuverability.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Еще одним важнейшим элементом является судообеспечение. Они используются для доставки грузов и материалов для строительства скважин, в суровых условиях также для транспортировки персонала. Это один из важнейших элементов, если мы говорим про логистику в Арктике.
One of the vital elements of the logistics in Arctic is the supply vessels that are really useful to bring to the license areas to build the wells as well as deliver the stuff there.
Следующий слайд. Отдельное внимание, конечно, занимает, если мы говорим про логистику, вопрос управления ледовой обстановкой или ice management. Часть коллег считает, что управлять ледовой обстановкой нельзя, можно только наблюдать за ней. Но отчасти это действительно так и есть. Но, тем не менее, это важнейший элемент, и нам придется считаться с теми айсбергами, вероятностью появления этих айсбергов, которые существуют в Арктике.
Another important factor is ice management. Some of the experts believe that people cannot operate them, they can just watch them operating, which is partly true, but at the same time we have to take into consideration the chance of the occurrence of icebergs in the water.
Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Следующий. Ну, это несколько слов про наземную транспортировку. Это тоже очень важно. Вы можете видеть этот пример модуля. И если вы пересмотрите, человек стоит, да, то есть масштаб конструкции понятен. Для этого нужны хорошие коммуникации, хорошие дороги.
The onshore transportation is also very important. On the slide you can see one of the modules, and if you look a little bit closer you can see a human there just to assess the size of such a construction. So of course it's very important to have good infrastructure and good availability of the roads there.
Следующий. Это просто тоже для информации. Следующий можно. Ну и, наверное, завершающим важным элементом является инфраструктура, береговая база обеспечения, которая, несмотря на свое береговое расположение, является залогом успешного строительства скважин в Арктике.
And now we finally got to the infrastructure. We have a supply base on shore, which is, even though it is on shore, it is a good basis for the successful development of oil in the water.
Следующий слайд. Безусловно, необходимые условия для реализации логистических операций вы можете видеть на данном слайде. Это реконструкция и строительство автодорог, улучшение качества связи в регионах, разработка оптимальной схемы таможенных операций, открытие пунктов пропуска и так далее. Это огромный объем работы, с которыми сталкиваются менеджеры по логистике, которые работают в компаниях-операторах.
Speaking of the conditions of the logistics operations, we need to work on the development of the roads, developing the connection in the regions of work, developing the access to foreign citizens, and working on the good scheme of organization of customs procedures, as well as establishing some checkpoints. This is a huge amount of work carried out by the logistic managers of our operators.
Следующий слайд. Уже понимаю, что лимит времени исчерпан. Наверное, попрошу перейти к следующему слайду. Наши регионы Мурманск и Архангельск имеют уникальный потенциал с точки зрения реализации и скажем так, транзитного потенциала, с точки зрения становления такими крупными углеводородными хабами, что позволит мультиплицировать экономический эффект от реализации проектов не только вот в этих регионах, но и на всю страну.
Murmansk and Arkhangelsk cities have a huge potential for serving as transit ports and in general very big and important hubs of hydrocarbon development. And they're going to be developing not only their regions, but service these hubs for the whole country.
Ну и по оценкам, самым смелым заявлениям специалистов, эра традиционных углеводородов еще будет жива очень долго, если мы берем в расчет Арктику. По некоторым оценкам до 200 лет еще впереди.
According to the biggest assessments, the era of hydrocarbon is going to stay alive for at least 200 years.
Большое спасибо за внимание. Буду рад ответить на вопросы.
Thank you so much for your attention. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Да, Алексей Михайлович, большое спасибо. Есть вопросы, Роман озвучит их, если можно. One moment.
Да, есть вопрос от Ирины Зайченко. Алексей Михайлович, большое спасибо за интересный доклад. У меня вот такой вопрос. А используется ли зарубежный опыт работы в Арктике при разработке программ противодействия вызовам работы в Арктике по разведыванию и добыче углеводородов? Спасибо.
Question from Irina Zaychenko. Alexey Mikhailovich, thank you very much for an interesting presentation. I have a question. Do we use anyhow the foreign experience of working in the Arctic while developing the programs of tackling the challenges of working in the Arctic and development of production of hydrocarbons?
Ирина Михайловна, благодарю вас за интересный вопрос. На мой взгляд, здесь стоит отметить, что сегодня так, как работает Россия в Арктике, не работает ни одна страна. При всем уважении к нашим зарубежным коллегам, которые имеют уникальный технологический опыт, например, Норвегии, тем не менее у них нет льда, у них нет таких суровых условий. Поэтому с точки зрения технологических аспектов, с точки зрения, скажем так, имплементации социально-экономической трансформации углеводородов в социальную сферу, это то, что нужно проецировать нам зарубежного опыта на российские условия. Тем не менее, сегодня мы являемся носителями, как я уже отметил, уникальных компетенций в области добычи и транспортировки. И сегодня мы готовы при обоюдном желании делиться с коллегами вот подобными решениями. Поэтому частично да, но еще раз скажу, что это, знаете, сродни тому, когда говорят по поводу того, что там, санкции остановили трансфер технологий в Россию, например. А у кого есть эти технологии? Кто работает в Арктике так, чтобы им располагать? Это вопрос риторический. Нет сегодня технологий нигде, ни в одной стране мира. Поэтому Россия, как никто, сегодня накопила этот опыт и является носителем этой компетенции.
Thank you very much for your question, but I would like to say that such an experience that Russia has, I can't say that any of the countries own such kind of experience. With huge respect to all of our foreign colleagues, with their technological advancements, such as they have, for example, in Norway, they do not have to work with ice in such harsh conditions. So speaking of technological aspects, I think that we have enough of those. We should look at the experience of the West in terms of social economic tackling of such problems, but Russia has unique competence, and it is ready to share this unique experience with the colleagues.
Okay. There is one more question.
Да, Алексей Михайлович, есть еще вопрос от Анастасии Лаврик. Спасибо за интересный информативный доклад. Хотелось бы задать такой вопрос и узнать именно ваше мнение на перспективность разработки арктических морских и шельфовых месторождений в ближайшее время, потому что это, безусловно, очень капиталоемкие проекты, и многие эксперты придерживаются мнения, что разработка традиционных месторождений в ближайшие годы наиболее целесообразна.
Да, Анастасия, благодарю за очень интересный вопрос. Действительно, тема освоения арктических шельфовых месторождений очень дискуссионна в последнее время и можно назвать даже спекулятивно. Необходимо принять во внимание следующее, что освоение Арктики является государственной задачей, которая не в полной мере и не всегда даже определяется законами рынка. Это первое. Второй момент. При реализации арктических проектов возникают очень мощные мультипликативные эффекты. Одно рабочее место в Арктике создает 14 рабочих мест в смежных регионах. Таким образом, есть исследования, которые говорят о том, что кумулятивный эффект, накопленный по так называемой машиностроительной неуглеводородной линии от загрузки промышленности, может вдвое превосходить прямую продажу от углеводородов. Это первое. Второе. Часто можно услышать тезис о том, что отдача на вложенный капитал в арктических проектах вернется через 15-20 лет. Это долго. Но что такое 15-20 лет в исторической перспективе? Если мы посмотрим на опыт Китая, который сегодня живет по столетней стратегии, в ближайшее время у них будет утверждена 200-летняя стратегия, мы поймем, что 20 лет – это абсолютно небольшой промежуток времени. И здесь задача государственной компании, в Арктике работают как раз госкомпании, во всяком случае пока. Сейчас ведется разговор о допуске частной компании, но тем не менее. Это как раз, на мой взгляд, стратегическое мышление. Это мышление на перспективу. И сегодня мы, как никто, являемся носителями вот этой компетенции, которую нам нужно максимально развивать.
There was a question about the prospects of the offshore oil production in the nearest future, because it is very capital consuming, and some of the experts think that traditional oil production is more productive, as we can say. It's more productive, more gives you more profit. The topic of this offshore production is very disputable and you can say speculative, because first of all, our Arctic is a state, developing the Arctic is the state task, so it does not lie within the framework of laws of market. The second thing is Arctic, developing the Arctics and building such kind of productions has a multiplying effect. So if you build one construction, it will lead to making 14 more in adjustment regions. So this kind of experience can exceed the profit by 2 times or more. And another thing is that, of course, it takes a lot of capital, but this capital will return in 15-20 years. And some people believe that it's a pretty long time. But if you look at the experience of China, for example, they are following 100 years strategy of planning, and now they're going to accept 200-year strategy of planning. So comparing with that, 15 or 20 years is not too much. So even though only state companies can work in the Arctic today, I believe that getting there and developing it requires some strategic thinking, and it's not only interesting for us, but it's essential.
Dear colleagues, can I have 2 more questions?
Алексей Михайлович, большое спасибо за вашу очень интересную презентацию. Спасибо за ваше участие. Мы переходим к следующему докладчику. The next presenter, our colleague Clara Sully from Rotterdam Business School. The theme of the presentation is the role of blockchain in data-driven logistics. Clara, yes, I'm very glad to see you. So, yeah. Thank you for supporting our conference and for your participating in our second conference on digital logistics. Please start. Okay. We didn't hear you. Yeah, we didn't hear.
Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Спасибо большое за приглашение на эту замечательную конференцию. Мне трудно говорить по-русски, so now I will change to English. I would like to do some corrections because I'm actually called Baden-Koper, so Shuli is my maiden name, so that's how you probably remember me from last year. And I am also working next to the business school at the research center, which is in my background. So you can see the research center right here. I'm very proud to work there. And I'm also very proud to be working at your university because I'm teaching students there. So now I would like to upload my presentation. Let's see how it works.
Could you do it by yourself or?
Yes, I'm trying to do it, but it works differently than yesterday. I tried it yesterday.
Okay.
Clara, we could launch your presentation by our computer if you don't mind.
Could you please do that because this is not working for me.
Okay.
Yesterday it was so easy. There was no audience.
One moment.
Yes, please. Thank you very much for solving this for me. Pushing buttons is not my strongest point. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, now it's completely on. Okay, so I have put the logo of the Peter the Great Polytechnic University because I'm so proud to work there. So I can't change the slides now, right? Yeah. So I would like to talk today about data-driven logistics, about the course data-driven logistics that I'm giving at your university at the Master of Business Engineering, because I had students who have been working on projects, and I would like to tell you something about what they have done. Then I would like to talk about blockchain from a different perspective than the previous speakers as the law of the instrument. And finally, I would like to share with you our problems about a problem-driven approach towards research that we are working on. So basically, my title, Data-Driven Logistics, is actually a question, how do we solve this problem of the data-driven logistics? So if we talk about data-driven logistics, it might seem a little bit disrespectful because I'm just after the amazing presentation about oil, I'm going to give the statement, the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data. So basically, in the 19th century, if one found an oil source below one's garden, as it often happened in the United States, then one could get rich. In the 20th century, almost everything was powered by electricity. And now we have this new resource, data. And from data, we can create a business model. So in the picture, you can see Amazon, Uber, Google, Facebook, Tesla, and Microsoft, who have a lot of data from us, and they can generate value from that. But companies also generate a lot of data, and the question is, how can they monetize that? So, of course, these companies that are on the picture, they are collecting our data, our personal data, which is on a minor level not really valuable. So it's not interesting that I'm going to the gym, but it's very interesting if it's about millions of people, whether they are going to the gym or not. But similar kinds of data is generated also in companies. It's of course not personal data, and the question of data-driven logistics is how can we make a business model out of it? So I have made an overview of the technologies. Of course, Professor Kerstens had a lot deeper overview, but I think it's good to look at this because different technologies are overlapping. So if we are talking about data-driven logistics, then we almost always talk about big data, which is kind of hazy because when is data big data? So how much data do you need that you have big data? Of course, there is not a certain limit when it starts, but the idea is that big data is data that is big enough to generate profits from. So there has been already talked about additive manufacture, 3D printing. However, 3D printing also needs a lot of data in order to make the design for what is going to be printed. We can talk about robotics, but somehow 3D printing is also robotics, and robots also need a lot of input of big data, what they have to do, how they have to behave, and of course also artificial intelligence, which again overlaps a lot with robotics. Internet of Things technology is mostly connected to the use of sensors. As Professor Kersken also mentioned, there is a major growth on the market on this area, and then we have blockchain. But it looks like here, like blockchain is very similar to the other technologies, but it's actually not. There is one problem with blockchain that I'm going to talk about, and the rule of the instrument is that nobody goes to a company and say, let's implement artificial intelligence, but the company asks, how can I make my processes better? And then the advisor comes and they say, why don't you use artificial intelligence? In the case of blockchain, it's very often blockchain consultants go to the company and they say, I'm going to tell you how you can generate money by blockchain. But blockchain is not always the solution. Furthermore, blockchain itself, against what most people think, is not really a smart technology. In fact, it is a very rigid technology, and in fact, it's not smart, it's completely stupid because this is just a decentralized database. And using it alone doesn't really make sense. So there are other parts of other technologies that you need to integrate into it. So that's why I put this slide for you, so that you would have this overview and you would see the interdependency and the overlapping of the different technologies. Now I would like to go a little bit more into blockchain, if I can have the slide. Yeah. Oh, okay. First, I will talk about the data-driven logistics, and then I will go into blockchain. So I'm giving this course to students. It's 40 students most of them are from Russia, and it turned out most of them are also from St. Petersburg, of which I'm very jealous because it's such a beautiful city. And I couldn't go there now to teach. I hope next year. There are also some foreign students. There are students from China, from Iran, and from South America. I'm not sure I'm complete. So I gave them the task, choose any process, it doesn't matter what kind of a process, and show me describe the process, show me where are the inefficiencies, and suggest data-driven logistics solutions for this. They are going to write a short paper about it of 10 pages. And they were kind of confused because I asked them to look for an own case. These students are part-time students, so most of them are working. I think only the foreign ones don't work. So I thought they are working at all kinds of companies and they can come up with ideas about how to automate the processes in their own company or any case that they choose. So these are the sectors that they have chosen. And you can see the same thing on it. That's the first slide, the sector. That warehousing, the blue part, was the biggest one. So it completely agrees with Professor Kersten's observation that warehouse automatization is still very relevant. Some students want to use quite old methods like the warehouse management system, but some are also using some new technology, robotization, and that kind of stuff. Then the oil industry, I think it is because of the sample, because Russian students are very interested in the oil industry. Last time I gave the course, there were also some papers, I think even more about the oil industry. And then you see that the rest is completely differing. So I just made a quick analysis of the papers because they have submitted a presentation about what they want to write a paper about. The paper is coming later. That's why the specifications are not completely clear. So you can see that it's about energy, customer service, container depots, restaurants, fiber optic infrastructure, supermarkets. That's actually a quite scary solution because I think they're completely going to turn the customer into zombies. Earthquake aid in Iran, also a very interesting case. Transportation, online retail, postal services, distribution, pharmaceutical industry, food distribution, luxury goods, small commerce, railways, vegetable delivery, and restaurants. So I think that, of course, this is not really a good quantitative research, but if you have a look at this, then you see that data-driven logistics is really at almost all fields of our lives, so this is very relevant. Then I have made an analysis of the goal that they wanted to use in these papers, data-driven logistics for, and then you can see that the biggest, the blue one is optimization, which is of course a very big category, so it's quite clear that a lot of stuff falls under it. And the second one is security, and the third one is order picking, which brings us to the warehouse again. This corresponds with the major part of the warehouse in it. So then you can see that the rest is very diverse. So it's for mortgage payment, trading, virtual agent, personal safety, instructions, ordering, delivery payment, crude oil preparation, supply chain, customer satisfaction, distribution of emergency relief. That's of course the earthquake case from Iran. Congestion control. That's also quite related to stuff that has been mentioned already before. Personification, logistics, payments, drug distribution, traceability, delivery, sales, payments, and paperwork. I'm actually quite surprised that there were not more students who chose for elimination of paperwork, because that's especially a big problem in transportation, as Professor Farayev has also shown, because of the blockchain solutions that they have implemented. Can I have a последний slide? Yeah. So this is the use technology. I think this is the most important part. So the technology that they were going to use in it. Some students, the blue part, will use blockchain, but that's not representative, because I told them I'm a blockchain expert. And if you want to use blockchain, then you have to be really clear about why you want to use blockchain. And especially, you shouldn't use blockchain because you want to impress me. So this is kind of interesting. So I think that there are 4 blockchain cases, and I think that they are all well-grounded. But in the paper, the students have to be very clear about why they are using this and not something else, which is also related to the law of the instrument that I will show in a later slide. And then we have robotics. Robotics is really big and interesting. They are using it at different directions, but especially in warehousing. And then we have Internet of Things technology, it was kind of difficult to make this chart, because sometimes you need to use the combination of technologies. So as I told you, blockchain doesn't make sense in itself, so you have to combine it with something, and especially with Internet of Things technology, because that's the sensor technology that supplies the data into the system. Because also in a previous presentation, it was talked about human interaction, whether humans are still included in this system. If you talk about blockchain, it makes no sense to have human interaction, because blockchain is an unchangeable database in which the data cannot be edited. So if the secretary is typing in the input, it will make it completely unreliable. So it has to come from sensors, otherwise we are finalizing data which is not reliable. Which of course I think that humans should be included into processes, but not within blockchain, because it creates major inefficiency problems. Yes, is anybody asking me a question? No, it was just somebody's mic. Okay. And then there is again smart contracts, which are also very often included into blockchain. Resource management, the rest is behind my camera, so I can't read it, but you can read it. Data analytics, digital twin, automatization, pick to light. That is also in warehousing. Making information flows efficienter, platooning, that was the congestion solving solution. Machine learning, tech health, that's a specific solution for healthcare institutions such as hospitals. Shopify platform, that was a quite simple implication. Point of sale system, I'm not even familiar with it, so I'm very curious what is going to be in the paper. And warehouse management system, of course, and automated planning. So this is also very diverse. And the funny thing that it's very much converges with the presentation of Professor Kerskens that I was absolutely delighted to see. Последний slide, please. Okay. So now we are going to talk about blockchain and the law of the instrument. So I thought I would put a little explanation of blockchain on. I didn't know how deep other speakers are going to go into blockchain, but maybe it's nice to give a definition so that we know what we are talking about, because I'm going to talk about a technology right now. So blockchain is an immutable timestamp distributed ledger using a consensus algorithm. And actually, this is all. So very often my students come to me and they say, oh, it's so complicated, I don't understand. And I said, it's not complicated at all. It's very simple. That's all. And if I said, if anybody else tells you that blockchain is more than that, then they are lying. Because that's all. And then you get the smart contracts and whatever. But that's something that can be included into the system. It's not something that is automatically included in it. So I always tell people is that blockchain is a Christmas tree, and smart contracts and artificial intelligence and all the other stuff is decoration in the Christmas tree. But this is the definition. So it also always has to be combined with smart contracts and Internet of Things technology. Smart contracts, because that's how you can automate transactions. And Internet of Things technology, because just as I said, that is the sensor technology that is supplying the system with data. And it is also known as a solution that is looking for a problem. So Professor Kerskens, I think that is the reason why blockchain is in that quadrant of your presentation, because it's not like people are looking for it. It's like I want. Some people want artificial intelligence. They know what it can do. They machine learning, whatever. It's very clear. But we go, we have this fantastic solution, blockchain. So what is the problem? So this is why it is called the law of the instrument. The law of the instrument is invented by Maslow. Maslow is also known for the pyramid of Maslow of human needs. If you think that you are a hammer, then you think that the rest of the world is a nail, and then you have to hit it in. So that's what's shown at the cartoon in the corner of the picture. So basically what we are also doing, and that's what causes the problem, is I'm working on projects that we are doing feasibility studies at companies whether blockchain can generate revenue for them. And I think that it's completely the wrong approach. And that is basically what my presentation is about. So the research question is, if you are a hammer, how can blockchain create added value for SMEs? We are working with SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. As you could see in the previous presentation, Maersk and the big companies, they have so much power in the chain that they just can make blockchain solutions, and everybody has to work with them. You don't say no to Maersk. You don't say, oh, no, look, I want to work with you, but I don't want to use your blockchain. You can't say that. They have massive power. And they have also massive money, so they can go to IBM and they can ask, could you please design my blockchain the way I want to do it? SMEs don't have this possibility. So in the Netherlands, there are a lot of SMEs. There is actually almost 90% of all the companies are SMEs, and some of them are really very small. So they don't have the capacity, they don't have the knowledge, and the University of Applied Sciences is helping them to enclose knowledge for them. So I go to, just imagine, I go to an SME and I say, I want to see whether you can earn money by blockchain. So it's like, why would the SME care? SME doesn't care about blockchain. The SME cares about their business model. So I think that's the kind of discussion that I maybe would like to have with Professor Kerskens, is you say that money goes lower than digitalization, but why do these companies want to digitalize? Because they want to earn more money. Sometimes they talk about that they want to be more green, but it's always window dressing because they always want more profit. So the problem with cost is that it's a dependent variable. So if somebody says, I want to digitalize, they also say, I want to earn more money because I see that my colleagues are earning more money by digitalization. I also want that. So it's just a question of how we call that. And so we do feasibility studies. So we go to the company and we say, let's have a look at your business model. Let's have a look at your processes. And I will tell you, can you earn more money by this or not? But the problem with the feasibility study is that you ask a question, yes or no, And if it turns out that the company can't do anything with blockchain, then it's like it's the end of the story. So we can't get further. Did we help the company? So you also have for blockchain a decision tree. There are a set of questions, and it says, is it useful to use blockchain, or is it not useful to use blockchain? But it's kind of simplified. There are a lot of these decision trees. It's a very simplified solution. But again, the question is not how do I improve this company? The question is, can we generate money with blockchain? Can I go to the next slide, please? Okay, so we prefer a program-driven approach because there are two possibilities. So if we ask the question, how can data-driven logistics deliver added value to the company? It is still a technology-driven approach, but the chance of helping SMEs is higher as almost all companies have problems with their data flows. That's one of the reasons also because I enjoyed so much the presentation of Professor Kerskens, because that's what he's shown is that now it's really a major problem. But then we are still offering, we are trying to sell them the solution that they can use. So we are still kind of selling them technology instead of trying to help them. So the problem statement is SME doesn't optimally use its data. So then I come back to the beginning of my presentation: is oil is the big the data is the new oil. It's a new fuel for economy. So these guys are sitting on an oil well, and they are not using the money coming out of that. So then again, you get this circle that we want data digitalization because they can earn money with it, and companies will data digitalization because they can earn money with it. Companies want to earn money, so they want digitalization. And the other approach is, which problem does the company have, and how can it be solved using data-driven logistics? Actually, we have a strong preference for this one, and strangely enough, the project that we are working for, it's a European Union project, doesn't have this approach. So this is our struggle, how to get further. So I prefer this one because it's a classical logistic approach, because in general, you all know that if you do logistic research, what you do is, what is the process? Let's describe the process. In the process, there is a flow. It could be physical, financial, or data. It can be goods. It can be money. It can be data. And then find the bottlenecks and the root causes. And the problem statement is the SME has inefficiencies caused by bottlenecks. So I hope that this is clear. Is that there are two ways of tackling chain digitalization projects. One is starting from the technology, and the other one is starting from problems. And I don't know, maybe we can have a discussion about it, because I don't have a really very long presentation. So I'm very curious what you think about it. What is your approach to these problems? So can we go to the next slide, please? So we were trying to develop a problem-driven approach, in spite of the fact that the project that we are working on is technology-driven. So we have written an article, and it is in Dutch, in a Dutch journal, but we are now working on an advanced version of it in an English language good journal, because this was really preliminary research. So we are not really very far with it. And the title in English is, "Where is blockchain applicable in logistics, and how does it influence the value proposition of SMEs?" So basically, what we did is, a colleague of mine has inventoried a set of tools how to measure in the company whether it makes sense to digitalize or not. Well, you all know intuitively that it does make sense, so they should do that. But the question is, how do you explain that to them, or how do you get to know what the next step is? Because companies are in a very different state of digitalization. So, for example, at the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences, at the bachelor, students go to do internship in companies, very often in port-related companies, and then we tell them, go and innovate in that company. And they go to the company and they say, yes, I made an innovation. When I arrived there, they wrote everything by hand. just like Professor Fadeev explained, like, writing down numbers, and now they are using Excel. But guys, we are in the 21st century, so using Excel won't do. But on the other hand, to go to a company which uses Excel, it doesn't make sense to say that they have to use blockchain because their technology is just not ripe enough to do such a thing. So we had now a concrete example. I have a student group in a farm, in a chicken farm actually, and the owner is very, very innovative, and he wants to use artificial intelligence and blockchain and everything. And we did a digital scan, and it turned out that they are not mature enough yet because they have to develop the input of information. Because first you need a good input of information in order to automate further. So we have collected a few models on different levels, on the technical, operational, and what is the third one, strategic level, to monitor what the company is doing and how it wants to do it, and how a digital strategy can fit into it. Also referring to Professor Kersten's presentation, do companies have a digital strategy? Do they want it? Do they think that it's important? Our assumption is, our hypothesis is that it does make sense because that's how you earn money. But then you have to look at it in the companies. So we are now with a student group trying this scan that she has developed. I was also co-author in the article, and check how it works, whether we can get there. It looks like in the project, it looks like if you do this check, then you really get to the business model and you understand how you can help these companies automate and digitalize. But in the literature study, we have tried to look for other possible scans for finding out the maturity, so that we can advise on the maturity level. So it's not like a company who uses Excel suddenly wants to do machine learning, because it doesn't work like that. Because these scans also advise what the next step is, how to improve the situation in the company. So we have found these scans, the BDMM, the Evo Fenedex. It's a very good one. That's the association of the Dutch shippers. They have developed a very, very good scan. And then MKB Data Lab, whatever, there are a lot of them. And we are trying to develop a new one. Basically, that's the goal of the project, that is specifically fitting for us. But we are fighting with do we talk blockchain to the people, or somehow approach the companies that way, that they will benefit from our research at the end, and they won't hear, no, blockchain doesn't fit you. So I think that was my conclusion. Roman, can you check whether it was my last slide?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was. У вас есть вопросы или продолжения? Is the question.
Да. Clara, thank you a lot for your speech presentation. There's one question from Konstantin Frolov, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Clara, you demonstrated very high penetration into the business problems, but in the agenda you indicated as a business trainer, senior lecturer. Does it mean you are simultaneously at the same time working in high school and in a business?
No. Okay. I'm working at the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences, and the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences works. It has teaching institutes and research institutes. So I'm working for 2 days in a teaching institute, and I'm working for 2 days at a research institute. However, the strategy of the university is that it's operating in a triple helix in companies, research, and education. And my task is to integrate the 3 of them. So what we are doing is that we are working on research projects with students at companies, and then we develop knowledge, and that knowledge we give to the companies, and the circle goes on. So I'm surprised that you asked this question, but because I don't know how your university operates, but Roman was also quite surprised about this construction. So this is how it works.
There exist different ways, and but look, again, like me, at the same time I'm working as an associate professor in the university in SAP, and it allows to recognize problems and to solve them based on applied science, and to use this knowledge and experience in training process, educational process. And I noticed that you in your presentation you demonstrate very good understanding of different business segments, applying the technology within based on some industry scenarios and some scientific background. And this is the reason why I'm asking you this question. You answered. So, as I understood, you're working in a research institute, allows you to get this knowledge and to keep the experience and the background at the sustainable and demanded level.
Okay, yeah, that's the strategy of the university.
Thank you very much. Understood.
Thank you very much for your question. Очень спасибо. Большое спасибо.
Okay, Clara, thank you so much for your participation. It was very interesting. Yeah.
Can I have a question? Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clara, hello. Thanks a lot. It was very interesting. I have basically two questions. First question is, can we get a copy of your presentation? Maybe on some shared drive? Something like that.
I have given it to Roman, so Roman can share it.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second question about digitalization and blockchain. You said that big companies like Maersk and IBM, they can dictate which way the digitalization and all this sector is going. My question is, can small companies compete with big companies using, for example, some kind of associations, or I don't know, because there are a lot of associations of truckers, associations of warehousing, association of, I don't know, bakers, and can those associations get some new value, let's say, and compete with the big companies, take a leading role in where the industry is going? Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question, because that's something that I forgot to mention. Thank you very, very, very much, because I think that this is the reason why I really believe in blockchain, or in applications that are similar to blockchain, because they have the possibility to make a big power shift. And I can give you a very concrete example. So basically, because data is money, so anybody who has the data is rich. So Professor Kerstens, is the business model of sharing information is that all parties will benefit. So the reason why they are not sharing information is because in their business model right now is that if I keep my data to myself, then I will get rich. But the question is on which level you aggregate the data. So to give you a very concrete example, is right now we are working with that farmer I have told you about the chicken farms. So in the chain of the chicken farms, the slaughterhouse has the biggest power. The slaughterhouse, it's really, I mean, I was very, very surprised, because I thought the Netherlands is free economy, competitive market. No, not on the chicken field. So the slaughterhouse dictates everything, what kind of feed chickens have to eat, what kind of temperature they have to be kept, and they're completely controlling the market. And why can they do that? Because they have all the data. So now what the farmers are trying to do is that they are trying to share their own data in order to be the slaughterhouse. So this is really something great about blockchain that I don't want to waste your time a lot longer about this, but because of transparency, you can completely change the game. So sorry, I can't stop myself. I give this example and then I will shut up. So just imagine that you have this picture that there is a little girl who has made in Bangladesh a T-shirt for 50 cents. And then this is going to be sold in a Dutch clothing store for, I don't know, for 50 euros. So the question is, what happened to this T-shirt? So if you do the transparency with blockchain, then it will be clear which parties have earned money on this product without adding any value. which will give power to the little girl in Bangladesh. It will make the product cheaper, so basically everybody wins, and you cut out a lot of middlemen. So they are saying that that these new technologies are disruptive technologies, and right now people try to use them within the constraints of our systems, but they can just break it down and completely change economy and the structure of power. So this way, it can make major changes in society, and it all comes back to what you have asked. Like how can this be changed? Is that the person who owns the data has the power. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Igor, may I raise a short question as well?
Yeah, please.
I was waiting for this.
Okay, Clara, thank you very much. Great presentation. I have, at first, I agree with all your observations. Yeah, we actually do the same. We have a project which is looking for application areas for blockchain that makes sense. Yeah. So this is a funded project with many companies around, and blockchain clearly is not a solution for everything. And most companies, they don't exactly know what blockchain means. So this is one comment. I have another comment. You have the two approaches, technology-driven and problem-driven, for the use of data analysis. We found a third approach, observing the companies. And the third approach is that the companies come and say, well, I have a lot of data. What can I do with these data? Yeah. A kind of data-driven approach, and this sounds a bit unconventional, yeah, but this really makes sense because this drills down a barrier that is especially smaller companies have to things like data analytics or big data or artificial intelligence. So this is another interesting approach you might add to your list. Yeah? And finally, I fully agree that sharing of the data is beneficial. We were surprised that this privacy barrier in our blockchain project was the major concern of the participating companies. Yeah, so we have a working group with several companies in the board, and this is their major concern. On the one hand, they say, yes, we want the decentralized approach, but on the other hand, they say, we want a solution where we don't share these business relevant data. So, and actually, this is a problem. We actually work on a cryptographic solution for this, but I absolutely agree. Companies must learn that sharing data will deliver value. Okay, so.
Thank you very much. And I think that you actually solved our problem, because I think that the third approach is the one that we should take. Thank you very much for that. But I still would like to say one more thing, is that I have this experiment. Just imagine that you have a river, and you don't know what is on the bottom, and you pour some little liquid in it, and suddenly the river is transparent. And you can see everything that's on the bottom, you know, all the bicycles, dead people, I don't know, or the bombs from the Second World War. Now just imagine you do the same in the port business, that you pour a fluid into the port business, and then you see everything that is on the bottom. And what you will find is that the reason why because the companies don't want transparency, because they are earning money on the intransparency.
Sure. But maybe they must understand that they can earn more money. Exactly. In an area of rising transparency.
Yeah, but what you get is a lot of companies are going to go bankrupt, because the companies who have their singular business model based on intransparency, if transparency comes, they will disappear. And that's the reason why there is such a resistance. I'm absolutely sure about that.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. We see this, that logistics service providers, a lot of them live from this intransparency. Yeah? But some companies start, for example, to offer their truck, the rates they need for transportation from A to B on a tool on their website. Yeah, and it will not take too much time until customers start and say, okay, there I get the information I want to have, so I will use this provider, and they must understand it. And those who are too late and too slow, they will lose.
They're going to disappear. Yeah. It's a new comparative advantage. Thank you very much, Professor Kerskens. I just love talking to you.
Okay, we can do this after the conference.
Good idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. So, Clara, thanks so much for your input. Yeah, it's a very good presentation from our point of view. Yeah, thanks so much. And we are going on with next presentation. Our colleague, Konstantin Frolov, he's a professor of our graduate school, and also he's senior digital supply chain sector expert in SAP company. Konstantin, please.
Sorry. The content of... Это не моя презентация. Моя. Yes, this is mine. The content of my presentation is defined based on my experience in both big famous company organizations, one SAP, and as I have been working in